Sometimes when I have some bits and bobs of yarn left over from projects, I like to try out new stitch patterns just to get a feel for them, see how I like them. And what I then like to do is take my little swatch and I like to frame it. So I've got, obviously you've seen some examples that I've done already that I have hanging up in my house. So today I'm going to create another one. I've been wanting to try the stitch pattern for a while now. I'm going to go ahead and cast it on. I've got some of my Midnight Orchid colorway here left over from my Twilight Hollow tee that I made. So it's perfect for making this little swatch. So let's see, I'm going to try to find the center pull. Let's see if I'm lucky. And I am. Okay. So I'm just going to manage my free end here because center pull is always a little bit easier for me. You might be different, but that's what I like. So for the stitch pattern we're doing today, it's going to be a cable that is both right leaning and left leaning. So we'll get some good practice on our cable stitches. So to start, I'm going to cast on a multiple of 11 stitches. So if you're doing this flat and you're just doing a panel and you want to have some edge stitches, maybe in garter, you're going to have to cast on those independently. This 11 stitches is just for the pattern repeat, and that's what I'm going to do. All right, let's get my yarn over here where I don't have to worry about it falling off the table. Okay, so I'm going to cast on 22 stitches. So what I like to do when I cast on is just lay it over the needle. So I've got my end going that way. Like to lay it over the needle and then I take it and then I twist it. So now the end that's free and not connected to the yarn is going that way, and the yarn end is going to this finger. So I've already got kind of one stitch on there. You can see it's a little loosey-goosey, but it'll work for our purposes. Then I'm going to do my slingshot. And if you need help with this, I have other tutorials on my channel that go into depth on how to do this cast on method. 5, so I've got 5 stitches here cast on. I'm going to do 22. Now that I have that cast on, I'm going to get my picture frame here and measure it. Oop, that's not going to be enough. So I can see just vaguely that 22 stitches is barely going to cover that frame. So I'm going to cast on another 11 because our pattern repeat is in multiples of 11. All right, perfect. So let's measure again. That looks like it'll fit quite nicely. So obviously it's not going to be exact. We're not going for exact here, as long as we get within the frame. That's how I've done every single one of the ones I've done so far, and it's all worked out perfect. So don't change what isn't broken, or don't fix what isn't broken, right? All right, so for our first row, this is going to be our right side row. We're going to turn here after we cast on. I'm going to get my other needle, and the repeat is going to be knit 9, purl 2. So let's go ahead and do that. So I knit my 9, now I'm purling my 2. I'm going to start over. Knit 9. And then I'm going to purl 2. Knit 9. And then purl 2, and it should be the last 2 stitches on the needle. All right, let's see what we have so far. Ooh, that grew, didn't it? See how it grew? Okay, that's all right though, because anytime, this is something that I want you to keep in mind when you're working cables. Anytime you're working cables, this looks a bit wide right now, but what's going to happen when you start working your cables, it's going to pull that fabric in, because cables are a twisted stitch, so they cinch the fabric widthwise. So while this looks a little bit wide right now, it might not come out like that when we finish our cables, because we are going to have some pulling from the cables. So don't freak out just yet. Hold the freak out till later. So this is what we have so far. You should have this as well. This is what it should look like. So that's our row 1. Row 2, and every wrong side row. So even rows are going to be the wrong side row. Row 2 and all of your wrong side rows, you're going to knit 2 and purl 9, and you repeat all the way across. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and get started. So essentially we're just going to be knitting the knits and purling the purls. So we're going to knit 2 and then purl 9. All right, so what I want to do right now for all my newbie knitters who might be coming here learning how to knit, my experienced knitters, you're probably going to know this already, so you can go ahead and skip this part if you want. If not, it's a nice little refresher. But what I want to show you here is the difference between a knit stitch and a purl stitch. So if you get, going through your pattern repeat, you put your work down, you come back, oh my goodness, I don't know where I was at, I've lost my place. That's okay, I'm going to teach you how to read your knitting here. So when you're looking at your fabric from your working point of view, you can see here that we see a V, right? And then it almost looks like it's, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you can see what it looks like, right? So it looks like that. So it's got a V and then it's got something coming up out of it, and that's your stitch that you worked previously. So that is a knit stitch. So you can see here I have 2 knit stitches right next to each other. Now if you go here to the left, you'll see that we have a stitch on the needle, and then we have a bump going across the front. That's going to be your purl stitches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 purl stitches. And it helps sometimes just to spread your fabric out a little, just to get a clear read on those stitches. And you'll see here, after we hit our purl 9, this is our 9th purl, it changes appearance. So look, now we have 2 more knit stitches. That's the best way I've found. If you learn how to read your knitting very early on, you can avoid a lot of the common mistakes beginner knitters make, because you can read your pattern, you can read your fabric and know where you are in your pattern immediately. And that will come with practice. So just practice every once in a while, stopping and looking at what your stitches look like. All right, on to the repeat. So we're going to knit 2, purl 9. knit 2, purl 9. All right, let's spread out our work a little, and now we're going to turn it because we just finished that row, and we'll see what we have so far. All right, so you can see we're starting to set up the structure of our cables here. Let me put this down because it hitting across the table is driving me nuts. So we have a panel of knit stitches, and then we have 2 purl stitches here on the front side. Remember, now this is the right side of our work. And then we have another panel of knit stitches and 2 purl stitches. So what's going to happen is we're going to work our cables within those 9 knit stitches. And then those purl stitches are going to act as kind of a border between the cables. Just a differentiating pattern so that the cables pop a little more. All right, so you might have noticed my little friend here hanging out in the corner. This is my cable needle, and I swear by these cable needles. I stock them in my shop. They're called the Bamboo Shorty cable needles, and they have these little ridges carved into the middle that kind of act as a grip on the needles or on the stitches so they don't slip off. I've used the standard steel cable needles that have the dip in the middle. Those just never work out for me. They're too cumbersome, they're too weird to work with. But these I've found by far the best, especially if you really have trouble working cables and find them very fidgety. This is a fantastic solution for that. So don't give up on cables just yet. Try this and see if it works. Okay, so we're going to put that down, but we're going to utilize it here in just a second. On to row 3. This is going to be where we start doing our left-leaning cables. This row 3 is going to contain our first cable stitch. So let's go ahead and get set up here. All right, so for row 3, our first stitch is going to be a 3 by 3 left-leaning cable. And you're going to see that as a 3/3 LC. So what we want to do is we want to take these first 3 stitches, so it's the first stitches in our pattern repeat, and we're going to slip each one as if to purl onto a cable needle. And then we're just going to let that fall right there in the front. And you see how those ridges hold on to those stitches? So it's going to take a lot. I can sling this thing around. It's not going anywhere. That's why I love it so much. So now that we've got those held onto the cable needle, we're going to knit 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And now that we've knit those 3 stitches, we're going to take our cable needle, make sure it's front facing so you can see the continuation of our work here. And we're going to slide those stitches back on to this needle here. It could be a little bit fidgety, but stick with it. Set that down, push those back. And then we're going to knit these 3 stitches. So we got, bear with me. 1, 2, and 3. It's these needles. They're too long for this table. So there's our first cable. Doesn't look like much now, but let's go ahead and do this whole row. So after we've done our 3 by 3 left-leaning cable, we're going to knit 3 and then purl 2. 1, 2, 3, and then purl 2. So now we're going to do that all over again. I'm going to show you a different way to do a cable if you don't want to fuss with cable needles. This is for more advanced people, or if you're a beginner and you're feeling froggy, go ahead and do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to count our first 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to go behind the work and we're going to grab the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Make sure they're all on your needle. Then we're going to pinch. Make sure you got a good hold on this. 1, 2, 3. We're going to drop those off. All of them. And then we're going to slide those stitches back on just like this. And then we're going to move these stitches back over to the left needle. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to knit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So basically we just changed the position of all those stitches and we achieved the same exact thing. That might be better for you. You might like that a lot better than using a cable needle. If you do, by all means, go for it. 1, 2, 3, and then purl 2. So I'm going to do that one more time to kind of show you. Since the cable needle is kind of intuitive, we already know what we're doing with that. I'm going to show you that slide off method one more time. So our first 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, we're going to skip those. We're going to go behind the work and grab those next 3 stitches through the back legs and hold on to them just like that, right? So we've got our first 3 stitches here on the left needle and we've got these being held by the right needle. Pinch, that's going to include the needle. So you can pinch the needle. You just want to make sure you have a firm grip on the bottom of those stitches. Slide all of them off. 1, 2, 3. And then pick up those first 3 stitches, just like that. And then slide the ones that are on the right hand needle back to the left. 1, 2, and 3. And then just knit across all 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Kind of like that a lot better. 1, 2, and 3, and then purl 2. So we just did our row 3. Let's see what we've got so far. So you can see now our work is starting to take on some texture. So we've got our cable, 3 plain knit stitches, our 2 purls, another cable, 3 plain knit stitches, 2 purls, another cable, 3 plain knit stitches, and 2 purls. All right, now on to row 4. Remember what I said earlier? Row 4, we're basically just going to knit the knits and purl the purls. So row 4 is going to be a repeat of knit 2, purl 9. So you can see here, very easy to read our knitting. We've got a line of knit stitches right here. So we've got this line and this line. So let's go ahead and knit 2. Knit 2, and then now we've got our purl stitches. They're easier to see once the fabric builds up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we're going to knit 2 and purl 9 again. and then knit 2 and purl 9 one more time. All right, let's turn the work and see what we have so far. Ooh, it's coming along, look at there. You can definitely see the cable starting to form along this little side here. And you can see it is left leaning. So we started over here and it's going to the left. Yay. All right, row 5. We're going to repeat row 1, which was knit 9, purl 2. So let's go ahead and do that. This is an easy row. I love the easy rows when you're doing knitting. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then we're going to purl 2. Purl 2. Do that one more. Or not one more time. Do it another time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then we're going to purl 2. 1, 2. And then one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and purl 2. Now, just a reminder, if I'm going a little bit too fast for you, you can control the speed using the YouTube settings. You can slow me down or speed me up, whatever you want to do. Let me move my coaster here before I yeet it into my lap. All right, let's see what we have so far after row 5. All right, so we've got our left leaning cable here. We've got everything coming together slowly but surely. Now we're going to do row 6. That is an odd or an even row. So we're going to knit 2, purl 9. All even rows are knit 2, purl 9. All right, let's see what we've got. It is coming along slowly but surely.
Hi, it's Editing Tabby, and I wanted to chime in here real quick and let you know that a lot of people who are watching these videos of mine, well, they're not subscribed, and it makes me sad. So if you're one of those people who are not subscribed, I would really love it if you did subscribe to my channel. It helps me know that you like the content and encourages me to make more. All right, thank you so, so much for supporting me. All right, bye.
7 is going to introduce us to the right leaning cable. And this one's going to be done fairly the same, but there's only going to be one difference. So let's start out with row 7. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to knit 3. So let's go ahead and knit 3, not with our cast on tail. Be careful not to do that. So we're going to knit 3, 1, 2, and then 3. And then for the right leaning, what we want to do is these 3 stitches here are going to have to come over these 3 stitches here. Wow, how are we going to do that, right? So what we want to do is move these 3 stitches away behind the work while we're working these 3 stitches. So using my cable needle here, I'm going to take these 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and I'm just going to drop them there behind the work. And it's going to get fiddly. You got to move your working yarn in front of those. So they're out of the way, they're back here hanging out. Now we're going to knit these next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Then what we're going to do, move everything to the front, it'll be easier. We're going to take these 3 stitches here that we have on the cable needle and put them back on our left needle. Move, oh, come here, don't you run away. Move everything to the back again, and then work these 3 that we just replaced back onto the left needle. Perfect, and then we're going to purl 2. Boop, boop. So let's take a look at that. Wowzer, look at there. Now we've got a right leaning cable. So we've got this one going left, this one going right. All right, let's do that one more time. We're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to pull everything to the front. You can even drop your working yarn for right now. Take these and get them out of the way. 1, 2, 3, drop them back there. Then go ahead and knit the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Move everything to the front again. Take your cable needle and put your stitches back on. 1, 2, and 3. Move everything to the back again, just like that. 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to purl 2. All right, let me see if I can remember how to do this without the cable needle. It should be fairly straightforward, right? So we need these 3 stitches and these 3 stitches to change places. So, I'm going to hold these 3 stitches here in the front. Then I'm going to pinch the work very tightly right there. Am I doing this right? I don't know. Bear with me here while I figure it out. And then we're going to take those 3, move them just like that. Pop these on. Ooh, I don't like that. I'm already losing that one. You see it? If you lose it, just grab what you can and pull it back up. Okay. I didn't like that at all. I've got to be doing something wrong. What am I doing wrong? All right, hold on. Let me research this and then I'll come right back. So hold on, don't go anywhere. Okay, I didn't have to research anything. I just had to stop being a dingleberry for a second. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to grab these 3 here from the front, pinch, just like we did earlier. So I've got my first 3 up here, not secured. My next 3 secured. Pinch really hard, pull it out, and then grab those 3 before they go running off on you. Say, not today, buddy. And then slide these back on. 1, 2, and 3. And then knit. Boy, that one stumped me for a second. Oh, did I mess up? I sure did. You know what? I didn't knit my first 3 stitches. That's what I didn't do. Oh, man. Okay, so if you did that, I'm glad we did this, or I'm glad I did this. If you did that, if you're like, oh man, I messed up, I've already done my cables, let's fix it. So undo your stitches, and to undo your stitches, you're gonna find that loop right below your working yarn on the needle. So here's your needle yarn, find that loop, go in from the left to the back. So we got 1, we got 2, and then we got 3. So we just undid our 3 stitches that we worked. Let's do it again. 1, 2, and 3. So now we're back to here. Now we need to switch those stitches again. So, how are we going to switch these? I think I'm going to call in the cable needle at this point. So let's get these here. 1, 2, 3. Move those out of the way. Slide these over. And then slide these onto this needle just for simplicity's sake right now. And then put everything, I'm trying to run away, back onto the left-hand needle up until your boo-boo spot. Okay, so there's my boo-boo spot. All right, so I totally and absolutely forgot to knit the first 3. 2, 3. Now we get to do our right leaning cable. My word. So I'm going to grab these 3. That's very fortuitous, I guess, to have messed up. So that way, if you mess up, you know how to fix it. I'm going to pinch, pull off, capture. 1, 2, don't split the yarn. 3, and then replace. 1, 2, and 3, and then knit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, and then purl 2. If you see me struggling at all, it's not because I don't know how to knit, it's just I'm hitting the table with these. I have a limited range of motion. Okay, let's see what we got so far. You see how much skinnier that is now than it was when we first started? So that stuff's being pulled in. The fabric's being pulled in. And look, it fits ever so nicely right into our frame. I want to check that before we go too much further. So that is going to be our pattern repeat. We're going to do another row 8, which is going to be our even row side. And it's going to be the knit 2, purl 9. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So 1 through 8 is going to be our repeat. All right, row 8 done. Let's see what we've got. I'm looking fancy. All right, so you're going to repeat that however many times you want. I'm going to do enough times here to fill up my frame. If you've got a different size frame than I do, I think this is a 5x9, then work however many until you fill up your frame. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera. If you wanna get a recap of the repeat, just go ahead. I've got chapters marked in the description. So go ahead and go back to row 1 and then kind of get familiar with it. But for now, what I'm going to do is continue working this off camera until I get enough to where I can fill my frame up, and then I'll meet you back here. All right, so here's what I've got so far. Isn't that gorgeous? Could you imagine that as a sweater? Oh, love, love, love. If one of you guys make a sweater out of this, can you please tag me on Instagram at Mountaintop Yarn? I want to see that so badly. Okay, so I don't know how many repeats I did. I could probably count them, but it's going to vary depending on the size of your frame. So just do however many repeats you need to do until you get to the size of your frame. So now I'm going to go ahead and bind off. And I'm just going to do a loose bind off so that way it can stretch a bit. All right, so I'm going to knit one, yarn over to the back like that, knit, and I'm going to do it in pattern. I'm going to grab those 2 stitches and pull it over. So this is my go-to stretchy bind off. Now I'm going to yarn over, knit, take both those stitches, pull them through, yarn over, knit, both those stitches, pull it through, yarn over, knit, you get the idea. And I'm going to do it in patterns, so when I get to the purls, I'll continue doing my bind off. I guess it really doesn't matter because you're not going to see the edge, but still, good habits, you know? Just got to keep them ingrained. See if I can, there we go. Now I have a little bit more movement. It's probably too close to the bottom of the frame though. All right, so let's see. I'm getting up close here to the purls. And once I get these purls, once I show you guys how to do the purl, then I'm gonna do this off camera because this table is driving me crazy. Okay, so now I'm at my purls. I'm just gonna yarn over, bring the yarn to the front, and same old, right? Just binding off. All right, I'm gonna do this off camera so I can get it done and not fight with this table. All right, now I'm bound off. And you see, stretchy, stretchy, which is what we want. We want stretchy so we can fit it over the frame. Oh, you can see my pumpkin slippers. How cute. My favorite slippers. All right, so now we're gonna prep our picture frame. Let's move this out of the way. And this has a piece of glass or plastic or something in it. I think it's glass. Yeah, it's glass. So I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this over and open this up. Let's see if we can do this without breaking a nail. Remove that, and then I'm gonna take the glass out. We won't need the glass. Be careful with this. Put that to the side. And we're gonna move this off to the side as well. So now we have our little picture frame here, the little backing, right? So what we want to do is we want to get a tapestry needle and we're going to get a length of yarn. It's going to have to be pretty long. So I'm going to pull out here till about that much. I think that might be all right. If not, we can always add more. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to position this over top of this like so. So what I want to do now is get it set up to where I like it, right? So that's going to be about here. So I'm going to go ahead and thread my tapestry needle. And I'm obviously threading it, not necessarily on camera here, but I'm threading it. It's pretty straightforward, standard stuff. Oh, I just hit my lamp. Okay. All right, so getting it positioned here, and I'm gonna flip it over. And what I want to do is, starting at one of the corners up top, I'm gonna pull some of that through, not all the way. I wanna leave a good bit so I can tie it off. It's gonna be messy, that's okay, we'll deal with it. And then I'm going to go across, and I wanna pull it pretty tight. I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna secure that other side, like that. Fantastic. You can kind of see where I'm going with this, right? I'm gonna go back to this side, grab up a bit, go back to this side. This isn't going to be gorgeous, right? Because this is just gonna be the back. This is purely functional. Oh no, what did I do? Oh, I pulled the whole darn thing through. Okay, so that's a possibility. Duh. Okay. Don't pull the whole thing through. Leave some of it off to the edge. Just dumb. I swear sometimes I do dumb things. Like, I'm a really smart person, but sometimes I do really dumb things. Okay, let's do one more time. So we're gonna do 3 right there. And then we're gonna check it and we're gonna see if we like the way it looks on the front. Remember, don't pull it all the way through, just like I did a minute ago. Okay. So we can cinch it up like that, just to hold it for a second. We're gonna turn it over, and oh, look at there. Gorgeous. So you see, we're not gonna need too much because we just want it to be positioned on there and it to look nice. We don't want to distort the cable too much. We just want to get it secured on there enough to where we can get the frame, the wooden part of it, over top. So now we do have to be mindful though of these bits, because these bits still need to connect to the wood, right? And they can go over top or they can go under. It depends, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to cut this here, and then I'm going to just tie a knot because I like that the way it looks. I hope I'm recording. That would be awful. Okay, I am. Shoot. It scared me for a second. Bloop. Okay. So let's cut these just like that. Move that off to the side. Put our scissors there for a second. And let's see if we can get away with just doing this. Just something to hold it onto there while we can get the frame on. So now, gosh, I'm a dummy when it comes to orienting things. So I want to smush this in here, right? But be mindful, look at the bottom, how it's coming up out of the paper backing part. Pull it down like that. So I want to smush all of that goodness in there. Make sure it's nice and firm, and you'll see that the cables are kind of wonky right here, right? So I can turn it over, and then I can just start pulling a little bit, right? Just keep a firm touch on it right here and keep pulling, adjusting, adjusting, adjusting. Smush it down, flip it over. All right, we're closer. We can adjust as we go. It's very, very flexible. Okay, that's a little bit too much down here in this corner. So let's pull it up in this corner just a little and then smush it back down. There we go. All right, I think that looks good. So let's turn it over here and let's get our frame secured. So bloop. Let's not break a nail. Come on now. Bloop. And bottom one. Bloop. And we're gonna take our scissors, snip. This is the cast off, the bind off edge, so I wanna secure that a little bit better. So depending on what pattern you did, like if you do a different pattern than I did, you could use all that yarn that I threaded on the tapestry needle just to get it secured. But I found that this is more than adequate because this part isn't the important part, right? Because this part's going to be up against the back of the wall. The other ones I've made, I never see this part. So I'm not going to sit here and fuss about perfection on this part. As long as it's functional, right? So I'm going to do some knots here. And then once I've got that, I'll use this little bit here to go ahead and tie myself a knot just to make sure it's secure. All right, so all these little bits and bobs I'm going to cut off. You can push these down. And then there you go. Look at there. Isn't that beautiful? Now I have another piece that I can put up on my wall. Gorgeous. And obviously, you know, you can take more time with this if you want. You can, you know, fuss it. You can get as perfectionist as you want to get about centering things and having things look perfect. But this is handmade. I don't think it has to look perfect. I just think it has to look like something beautiful and, you know, handmade that you can hang on your wall. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe. It really helps me and keeps me motivated to keep posting these things. And let me know if you made this. If you made this, you can tag me on Instagram at Mountaintop Yarn. I'd love to see your finished product. If you make anything with this stitch pattern, show me, show it off. I want to see it. All right, till next time, bye.